happen to remember the early 2000s when everyone in network marketing was in love with the theory, the 6 degrees of separation, the idea that you are only a few handshakes away from pretty much every human being on the entire planet? Well, we mapped it out onto an emerging technology at the time, and we built a very compelling case that a shrinking world, a shrinking digital world would result in, for network marketing, the ultimate global commerce golden ticket, as it were. And I admit it, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I still have the t-shirt. I'm MB and I am the engagement strategy. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 tools here in our short time together that cut through people's defensive armor faster than any tech stack will ever do. And one of them, I was actually wrong about it for a number of years myself personally. So here's the thing. We live in that shrinking world now. We prophesied it 2 decades ago, and we got exactly what we asked for. And the data is wild. In 2008, Microsoft analyzed 30 billion instant messages. The average distance between 2 people at that time, 6.6 degrees. By 2011, Facebook and the University of Milan had also run another study using the same math on 721 million users. And they found that that gap had shrunk to 4.74. Well, today, metadata has just been crunched again, billions of active users now, and we're down to 3.57 degrees of separation. So roughly 3.5 handshakes between you and anybody else on planet Earth. Technology did that. It erased geography. It manufactured what are really weak ties, but it manufactured ties by the millions. And it built an algorithm whose entire job is to find people who you may know, who you might want to connect with. But here's the thing. Here's the detail that I just can't get over. The closer technology brings us and has pulled us, the further apart we've drifted as a people. The current studies are tragic. Gen Z, up to 70% report that they are having chronic feelings of isolation. That makes them pretty much the loneliest generation who's ever lived on this earth. Oregon State University found that the heaviest social users, and we've seen a lot about this lately, those social media users are twice as likely to experience severe loneliness, not loneliness, severe loneliness. And the American Psychological Association reports that 54% of adults feel isolated, 54%. So basically, over half of the people in the United States feel left out, and they are lacking companionship. And this is true around the world as well. We're not suffering from a shortage of connections. We are actually drowning in them. And as we're drowning, we're starving for what they actually are supposed to deliver. And so I kind of think about it as interaction junk food. You know, you've got high quantity, you've got very, very low quality. You've got curated reality now. You've got remote work, increasing the divide, disappearing third places, algorithmic echo chambers. Wow, that make people suspicious and afraid of other people, and they withdraw more, further, and further still. And this is the world that every new customer, every prospect, every employee, everybody is joining us with. Every incoming team member is walking in from this world before they ever sit down across the table or across the screen from you. Before anyone engages with a person, with a company, or with a cause, there has to be a connection first. And so that's where it all starts. But again, I say that's where it all starts. Think about how you met the last person in your life who really mattered to you. It could have been a friend who introduced you. You may have connected on a dating app. You click connect on LinkedIn, and it turned out to be something that was beneficial for your career. That word connect has become a universal command when you think about it. I mean, it's how we pair our earbuds to our mobile devices. It is the low pressure CTA that you see pretty much on every website. Let's stay connected. Let's connect, connect, connect. It's transactional now. It's much more than a feeling. It happens to be one of those exceptions that is played out when it becomes a relationship. And I am one of those exceptions. I caught a very handsome stranger's eye from across the room my freshman year in college, and everything shifted in an instant. Everything changed. And what started as a spark connection became something far bigger. It turned into 40 years of a fabulous marriage, of having accomplished children and a purpose-driven life that we're still living to this day. But that's not a connection. That's a relationship story, not a connection story, a relationship story. And connection was just the door that relationship walked through. And the odds, are stacked against surface level connections. They are. And that's true for love. It's true for business. Because here's what people are actually carrying into that connection with you right now at this moment: low trust digital habits. Now it's just becoming a low trust digital environment with habits that are coming out, a heightened radar for manipulation, for insincerity, and a defensive posture that they simply didn't have 20 years ago. They're coming in more skeptical and more guarded, and they're protecting themselves before they've even given us a reason to have to prove ourselves. A CEO said these words to me one day. It was my first day of work. And I was in his office, and he said, MB, he said, my trust is yours to lose. Well, those days are gone. So what actually works? I've spent 3 decades watching where connection breaks and where it gets rebuilt across 2 very, very different worlds. The independent salesforce, where entrepreneurs succeed based on trust and their levels of influence and their hard work, and the corporate ecosystem, where I've helped organizations drive double-digit, triple-digit growth. The mechanics of it, they look different on the surface, but the human being underneath is identical. People show up wearing armor. They've spent years and years curating a flawless version of themselves, whether it's on their resume, excuse me, not so flawless, on a resume, in an interview, on their social feed. The fear underneath all of it is very, very basic. If they don't live up to the highlight reel that they have created for themselves, they're worried, I'm going to get judged. I'm going to be weighed. I'm going to be measured. I'm going to be found wanting. And so there are 3 tools that I want to share with you today, 3 human advantages that we have that can help us cut through that armor right up front that technology cannot do. They cannot do any of them, not the tech, not the AI. No. The first one is empathy, not the performative kind, the kind that says, I understand your perspective, the kind that says, I validate I validate the armor that you're currently wearing. When leaders evaluate an underperforming team, sometimes we go in with a question, why aren't you forging ahead? What's the matter? What's the matter with these people? When really the question that we need to be asking ourselves as leaders, it's what are they protecting themselves from? So lean into that classic go-to, that feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. And I found that blah, blah, blah. Tell people that it's normal for it to take a while to ramp up. Give them permission to ask 100 questions if they need to. Normalize the learning curve out loud. That is how you can display empathy. That begins that connection as you move into a relationship. But empathy alone isn't enough, because it has to be paired with a second tool, which is listening. An executive coach once told me, he said, MB, you have got a lot of knowledge to share, but you use too many words. And because of that, people can come away thinking that you aren't listening. Now, this mentor said to me, I know your intention is to add value. I understand. But to someone who doesn't know you well, it might not come off that way. And so that stopped me. When someone cares enough to give you that kind of guidance, that kind of feedback, run with it, internalize it, and make the changes you need to make. It stopped me cold. And I'll tell you, I started studying elevated listening, reading books. I found that the most uncomfortable truth, though, in the beginning of my research that hit me head on was most people don't listen to understand. They listen to wait for their turn to talk. And that one really hurt. And I went, wow, I do that. I need to fix that immediately. Because if we actually value people, we have to process more than just their words. We have to process their emotional state. Listening means creating it's got to be like no distraction, undistracted place, if that's a word, to hear someone's true voice, right? Not the polished one that they brought into the meeting. We need to listen. And there's that third tool that rounds this out. And it really, from what I've seen in my experience working with such great leaders, it separates those great leaders from good ones. And that is discernment. Discernment is called by some a skill. I would call it a gift, but it's looking past what you see. It's tuning into that self-doubt, the motives, the cultural context that are underneath what you're seeing on the surface of this conversation, of this connection. And the mistake that I've made and watched other leaders make over decades is mistaking silence for agreement. I used to do it all the time, mistaking silence for agreement, because it's rarely that simple. What we need to do now, the questions that I've learned work are asking, are they being quiet because they really agree? Is it because they really don't care? Or third, is it because they feel unsafe right now? They feel outpaced maybe by their peers, or perhaps isolated by what's happening and they're not able to digest it, or they just are risk averse. Empathy, listening, discernment, those three, apply them, and you will dramatically improve your chances of earning trust, of growing a true relationship, and ultimately getting that full on engagement. Because here's what I know. Any organization can buy someone's physical presence. I know, I've done it. It cannot buy their highest and best, their innovation, their creativity, the loyalty that every leader craves and the teams really need to win. People are walking into our organization carrying more guardedness than ever before, more than any previous generations. Empathy is the one thing that takes us to the next level. Listening is the proof that we believe a person is beautifully and wonderfully created, and discerning what's underneath that silence. That is where the magic happens. Yes, technology can buy time. It can optimize a process. It can predict a metric. It can automate a workflow. Of course it can. It cannot replicate the soul of one human being empathizing with another. It is a biological superpower reserved only for we humans. AI complements our human advantages, does not replace us, but you have to use it first. And I wrote this viewpoint out in a short essay that's available on Substack. It's called the Engagement Letter. I publish it weekly, and it's linked below. If this brought some value to you, I hope that you will go there, that you will read it. It's only going to be a few minutes. And if it lands, please subscribe, like, share. I'm MB. I'm the Engagement Strategist. And until next time, do everything with love.